Today, 420, happy 420, everybody. We are talking about the most important skill you're going to need as a land investor. No, it's not some fancy tool to get your offers right. No, it's not learning how to hire VAs. No, it's not the research or comps or anything like that. Granted, those are very important skills. But what I'm talking about is one of the most fundamental and the most underlying principle that you need as an entrepreneur, as a land investor, hell, as a decent human being. You know what that is? Empathy. Let me explain. A lot of times we have to make sure we're doing the right thing with our business, meaning we got to play hardball sometimes, and that is necessary. But a lot of times you got to understand, this business is like any other business, it's a people business. You have to be ready to help people out. Here's a secret that a lot of millionaires and billionaires understand, even if you don't realize it. The more people that you can help, the more money you will make. It's hard to help people if you don't have empathy. So far, is that making sense? So before I go on, I want to make sure you can hear me and see me okay. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me all that good stuff, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching the replay, because what I'm about to get into is a little bit heavier than normal. Everything else I'm normally talking about is about tactics and strategies and, surface level things. And those things are great and they're important. You have to do those things. But again, without the underlying principle of actually looking to help folks, help people, and sometimes you are people, you're not going to get very far. And when you have a lot of fear, or you come with a lot of arrogance, or just anything else that's not, hey, how can I help? And if I can help, great, I'm going to help. If I can't, that's fine too. I'll find something else up. If you don't come with that attitude, you're not going to get very far. Let me tell you a story. I think this happened, actually, this is like part of my comeback in land. So about 2 years ago at this point now, I was looking at a small rural county in Texas, and my mentor was like, hey, this is, look in this general region, find something there and start hitting people up. Don't offer more than $300 per lot. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And it was the first time doing my own text campaign. So I was like, all right, let's try something new. I got nothing else to lose. And as I'm contacting people, I come across this elderly man, nice guy. And he was like, yeah, I inherited these properties a while back. I'm not going to use them. I want to sell them. And he had like a price in mind, and it wasn't $300. I think it wasn't far off from what I was offering though. It wasn't that far off. I think it was like 375, 400, I don't remember what it was. But because I understood where he was coming from, and he had a couple concessions that he wanted to make. I don't remember what they were, but I remember I had to kind of adjust how I did things slightly just to help him do the job. He came down to my price. It wasn't the 300 I was looking for, but it was 375 per lot. And because of that, we were able to get the deal quickly. Now, okay, that's all great and good, right? But that's not the best part of the story. The best part is next. He then tells me, hey, you know what? That was really easy. I appreciate it. I got a sister. She actually owns 4 more lots next to the 2 that I own. You should give her a call. See if she's looking to sell, because I know things are a little bit different. And I'm like, all right, great. He gave me his sister's phone number, and I called her up. Elderly woman. She was very nice, very sweet. And as I'm talking to her, I can tell that she wasn't as much of a hurry to sell as her brother was. Like, to her brother, the property was a burden, it was a pain in the ass. And where it was located, he's like, I'm never going to go where these meth heads are. I just get this off my hands. She didn't see it that way. Why? Well, because this property, maybe 30, 40 years ago, was seen as I wouldn't call it premium, but it was a nicer area. It was where her and her family used to vacation. Take the little RV or the trailer, whatever, camp out there for a couple of days, just spend some summer months or summer days at this area. And it was one of her last memories of her parents, which, who've been long gone at this point, but it was still a fond memory of her parents. And I believe she used to bring her kids there with, the whole family was there. So it was a lot of family memories. So obviously it was hard for her to separate the property from the actual reality of the situation. So the memories of the property, I should say, from the reality of the situation. And as I'm talking to her about this, I can understand. So instead of being very boom, 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 let's just do it this way, let's do it that way, I had to switch hats a little bit. And I had to play the empathy card a bit. And what I did was I just sat and listened. And I asked a couple of questions like, well, I know you have these memories. What are you going to do with the property now? And then having that conversation, I'm like, okay, now understanding you're not going to use it and, you're not getting any younger, so to speak. I said it much nicer than that. Your kids don't seem to want it. Does it do you any good to hold on to it? Does the memories that you have with your family on these parcels, do they go away once they change its ownership? And through that conversation, she realized, she went back and forth. She realized, like, you know what? No, it's time to let go. And it helped that I had that empathy to play. It helped that I was just there to listen and to kind of guide her to the best decision, which I knew was selling, because she didn't want to deal with the taxes anymore. She hasn't seen the property in like, I don't know how many years. So it's not like she was there every week and, reminiscing. It was more of the thought of selling it, especially for selling it for such a low price. But once she got over that, and once she was able to let go, the process was much smoother. She was pleasant to work with. And because of those 6 lots, I went from the negative 200 something dollars in my account to like a couple grand. I forget. I sold each around 1,700 a piece. So yeah, without that empathy, I would be nothing. So this is what I want to talk about today, because it doesn't just go with when you're trying to purchase. It also happens when you're trying to sell. It happens when you're doing the research. It's the underlying principle, because again, this is a people business. All right, so far this is making sense. You guys got the story, how this is going to help you. Cool. So there's 3 areas that you can show empathy. Number 1, the buying process, and the story I just showed you kind of demonstrates that. The second is dealing with the county itself, because you should be calling the county from time to time, asking questions when you need it, trying to get the information you need to help sell the property, to help understand what you're getting into, and so on and so forth. And then the third place is selling the lots. All right, so let's jump in. When you're in this business, you're going to talk to a variety of people, some old, some young, some had the property for many years, some just got it, some are under, they're under distress and they need to sell the property. Some's like, I had it for a long time. I don't need to get rid of it, but it's probably the best that I do. So you're going to talk to people all across the board and all across the country. Because you're buying up property in a certain area does not mean that they live in that area. Most times they live all over the country. So you're going to talk to different people with different motivations. And side note, there's a property I bought in Tennessee. I paid the lady $500 for it. Like, there was a couple of things that we had to do, and I helped her through that process to do the transfer legally. She sends me Christmas cards. It was very sweet. So anyways, so listen, when you are dealing with a lot of people who are selling property that they inherited, for example, they're probably dealing with a lot of, I guess, that baggage that come with just dealing with someone that passed away in their family. So when you're like, hey, to sell the property, we have to show proof that you own it now, that you inherited it. You're going to have a certain level of empathy as you're communicating with this person to let them know, like, hey, look, I get that this may be tough to speak about, or it may not be. It might be like this person died 50 years ago. I don't really care, right? I've had both situations, but every time I approach a passing of a loved one or something like that with empathy, I get a lot more cooperation and a lot more respect. And obviously I feel better about it, because no one wants to be disrespectful. At least I hope you don't. If you do, you're in the wrong line of business. And people want to make sure that their loved ones, whether they're here in the physical form or not, are respected and cared after, so to speak. They also want to make sure that things are done properly, because listen, a lot of times when death happens, a lot of people just don't understand what to do to actually make sure the transfer is done properly, to make sure that the belongings of the deceased gets distributed to the rightful heirs and things like that. So you coming in with empathy is definitely going to help them lower their guard, to relax a bit, to trust in you. And because of that trust, guess what? They're going to sell the property for a lot less. And they're going to be a lot easier to work with. It's not always easy to do this. However, the more empathy you show in these situations, especially when it comes to someone who passed on and they inherited or they gave the property, or it's not even that they gave it, it's just like, well, I'm the next of kin, the better off that you are. So far as this making sense, are we good? We're good, just making sure. Cool. What's up, Tram? How you doing, man? Didn't see you. All right, moving on. What else in the buying process? Now, a lot of people also, in general, they don't know their property from a hole in the ground, right? If you were to point out like which one is yours on a map, they would have no idea. They don't know anything about it. They just may be paying the taxes every so often or not. So you got to make sure that you show empathy in this situation. Like, what do you mean by that? How do you show empathy with, because they're ignorant about their property? Well, think of it this way. If they know that you know, like, they don't understand what property is there and they don't really know what's going on, they're afraid that they're going to be taken advantage of. And the last thing you want to do is come across as someone that's taking advantage of them. Now, anytime you're offering a low price for the property, they're going to be a little suspicious, maybe a little defensive, and that's normal, right? People think, oh, all real estate is expensive, and it can be, but for us, we provide the value. We help people buy these properties. We clean up the title, things like that. That's where the value comes from. For the person who owns it now, they don't have these skills, so there's not a lot of value they can add. So that's why they can't get this. They can't sell for themselves for top dollar. And going through a real estate agent, they're not going to really help them to sell it because they're not going to get much commission out of it. But anyways, when they know that, okay, this guy knows I don't know much about the property and they're nervous about it, what can you do to show empathy? Well, one thing I like to do is, hey, let them know where you're coming from. Like, look, this is the property. If you need to show them photos, like via text, you can do that. That's usually not necessary, but it's a possible thing. But you're like, hey, the reason why I'm offering you this price is because, look, the property hasn't been cleared. It hasn't been used. It's never been developed. So there's no power. There's no water. The roads are crap. The county forgot about the property, this and that. It kind of shows like, look, man, I know this is not what you're looking for, as in like price, but I'm actually letting you know what you have is not what you think you have. And then I also give them the option, like, look, you don't have to take my word for it. You can just go ahead and take a look at it yourself. Here's some websites and, call up a real estate agent, this and that. Most people don't want to go through that trouble. They just want to get rid of it. So I make the process simple. One other thing, think about this. If you're in an area, if you're mailing to an area or you're texting people in an area that have a lot of other people trying to get that property, they probably got a stack of offers. Now, what happens when your offer is more realistic and you're not lying to them like these other jokers out here? Excuse me. Well, first off, you're going to have to let them know, yeah, the offers that you're getting, they're probably not legit, but if they are, I recommend you take it. Most people don't say go with somebody else and do business with them because that's out of integrity for them. They rather steal, I don't want to say for steal, but they'd rather try to get all the deals for themselves. I don't work that way. I'm like, look, I want to give you a fair deal, but I want to be fair for myself as well. This is what I can offer, and here's why. If someone else is offering 2 or 3 times the amount, well, what I suspect is going to happen is that they're going to try and talk you down, or make you sign a contract and try and sell it 30, 40, 60, 90 days from now. So I ask them this, look, sir, ma'am, what would you rather have? Cash in your hand or a signed contract? Because understand, you need to use this money for X, Y, and Z. The guy that's coming to you, there's no guarantee he's going to pay you anything, let alone the amount that is on this little offer or whatever. It's coming from that level of respect and honesty shows empathy. Look, man, I understand there's a lot going on. I'm going to be straight up with you. You don't have to take my word for it. You can verify the information for yourself. But this is what I'm willing to do, and I'm willing to make this process extremely simple for you. Doing that process gets me a lot of deals, especially with these jokers out here. They just talk a mean game, and then I say, don't believe me. Go ahead, call them up. See if they're going to offer it. See how quickly they'll pay you. See how many properties they bought within the last month with cash. Right? You see what they say. When they find out the truth, they come back to me like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, I know I was right. So you ready to take this money? And they're like, yeah. And I make the deal easy for them. You see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about empathy here? Because I know they're getting bombarded by a bunch of bullshit. So I got to let them understand, like, hey, let me help you understand what's going on. I know how overwhelming this can be. I know how sometimes you think you got gold on your property, and that's not true either. So let me offer my expertise, because I've been doing this for a while, and understanding where they're coming from, and I can understand why they may be confused with what's going on and how much money they think they should deserve for the property, this and that. So because of that, I show a little empathy, I show a little respect, and it goes a long way. And that's how people actually refer me to other people they're looking to sell their property. All right. So here's the thing. A lot of times people get nervous about selling their land as well, because they don't know about the process. They don't want to get ripped off. Again, showing empathy to the people you're buying from. When you keep the process simple, you do all the work for them, you make everything clear and transparent, it makes it much easier for them to kind of relax and just let you do your thing. Understanding what they may be going through, thinking about selling, like if they had ever sold a house, they know how long that can take and how much effort that has to be and all this and all that. And you kind of coming through and like, no, we don't got to do things that way. We can do it totally different. You can be paid right away. That shows empathy, believe it or not, because you're just relieving a burden from them. The burden, not just of the land, but the burden of what it takes to sell, and the paperwork and the back and forth and the time and all these things they don't want to do. Where I'm like, look, here, you only gotta do one thing, get this signed, get this notarized. I'll do everything else. It makes it so much simpler for them. That shows empathy. So far, is this making sense? Are you guys getting what I'm laying down? Because if you don't understand this, you're not going to find different ways in your business to show empathy, which is not going to help you gain any more customers or clients or anything like that, because you're too busy worried about your scaredy ass. All right, so moving on. The next section. So we talked about how you can show empathy when you're purchasing property. There's probably other examples that you should tell me about, things I'm not thinking about. If you have another example how you can show empathy, put it in the comments below. Make sure you let me know what you're doing, because shoot, I might use it for myself. It might be something I can do. All right. Next, dealing with the county. So here's the thing: when you're dealing with the county, you're going to deal with a lot. That's not even true. You may deal with disgruntled people from time to time. Why? Well, because everybody else who's calling the county are the residents, and they're frustrated about something. And you don't gotta. I'm sure you could think of all the different names and the different insults people give to county workers and city workers and things like that, that you kind of understand what they probably go through on a daily basis. Where I wouldn't be surprised, I guess it depends on the county too, every time that phone rang, their heart drops a little bit. It's like, oh, I gotta deal with these people again. Because these, a lot of times they're getting yelled at, they're getting cursed at, they're getting fussed at because of something else that the person who's calling them is upset about, and they just unload it on the person that's answering the phone. So when you're calling the county, when you're just trying to find out some basic info about a property that you're looking to buy, or basic information about the town itself, if you want to invest or not, when you start with a more pleasant tone and you show empathy, that like, look, I know they've been dealing with, frustrated individuals all day. I'm gonna come with a different energy. I'm gonna be a little bit more gracious in my speech. It actually goes a long way. I find that when I do that, I get them to help me more than they need to, right? Where they are actually doing above and beyond to get me an answer. Now, honestly, to me, it's not that important. I mean, it's important enough to ask, but not so important where I need this extra help, but I always appreciate it. You don't understand how often I can feel the energy over the phone when I just say, I really appreciate you doing this for me. How do I know you? I mean, like, I can't physically feel it like some people may be able to, but you can hear it in their voice when they're like, oh, well, no problem. Like, everybody wants to feel appreciated. Everybody wants to feel that their work matters. Everybody wants to feel that they're helpful. So when I actually show them that gratitude, I get a lot more positivity. And then the next time I call, maybe they remember me, maybe they don't, but the transactions go smoother. I don't get the surly, the rude. I don't get those types of people working at the county, because I understand they're talking to rough people all day. So when I come to different energy, they can relax a little bit. They can let go a little bit. And on the positive side, that just makes my phone call shorter. I'm not fighting with them. I'm not trying to, they're just doing what they need to do. Now, let's be honest too. If you come with that high energy like a jerk, they can make your life miserable, because they hold information that you need. They're the ones that record the deeds, check on taxes. They're the ones that look at the plat maps and tell you dimensions and all these other things that you can't do without their help. So you can come in with that gun blazing thing, but it's not a good look, not a good look at all. So in general, understanding that these people are working a thankless job, they're probably not getting paid very much. Now, maybe the job is easy, maybe it's not, maybe it's a busy job, maybe it's very, I'm the only person that calls all day. I don't know. But I do know this, when I show them that level of respect, because of the empathy that I have about what they do, it makes everything smoother for me. So far, so good? All right. I love calling accountants because they give me good information when I treat them nice. They give me great information, stuff that I wouldn't be able to find otherwise. Finally, when you're selling the lots, how can you show empathy? Well, some people are going to call you. They're not sure they can afford it. When you're talking to someone, they're like, I really want this or I need this for whatever reason. When you show a little empathy, you can figure out a way to make a deal. Now, if you're doing a cash sale, all you got to do is like, hey, all right, I know you don't have the full amount, but I don't mind selling to you at a discount if we do a deal today. Because I understand you're in a bind, or maybe you're not even in a bind. Maybe you just want the property really bad and what you're offering is what you can afford. Well, if it's not too far from the asking price, just take it. A bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. What about people who can't do the cash price, but they want to do a terms deal, meaning they're going to give you a down payment, pay it monthly until they pay it off? Well, then show a little empathy. Number one, just offering that option. A lot of people do it anyway because they want the passive income. But what you can also do is work with them on the down and the price. Work with them with the terms of the agreement. Work with them with anything else that they may be hesitant with. Because when you do that, there's a good chance that you'll have a customer for life who will buy more things for you, especially if you make things easy. Now, obviously, you got to be careful. You don't want to be a doormat. You don't want to put yourself in a bad position where the deal is no longer good for you and it's only good for them. But in general, there is a compromise there to be found from somebody who's serious about buying. People aren't serious about buying, you ain't got to worry about them, right? When they're ready, they're waving their cash in their hand, then you can talk. But those who are serious, work with them a little bit. Now, some people have never done property or never bought property by the real estate agent. You got to think about how scary that can be because, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. Sometimes it's tens of thousands of dollars, the only money that they have. They've been saving up for it. They've been needing this property, X, Y, and Z. And now you're telling me to do something in a way they're not used to doing? Well, you got to have a little empathy. You got to understand, hey, I get that I'm asking you to do something to buy this property that you're not used to doing. And in understanding where they're coming from, you can actually meet them where they are. So without the real estate agent, let's just say, for example, their big thing is that the fact that we're not going to meet in person. All right. Some people, they really feel that way. Right. Number one, acknowledge, like, yeah, I get it. Right. Face-to-face meeting. I understand you want to see the person. You want to understand who they are. However, what is going to be different whether we meet in person or meet over the phone? Will meeting in person actually guarantee you anything more than what we can do over the phone and online? And a lot of times people say no. Like, you're right. Sometimes that's all you need. Other times people are just stuck on meeting in person. Understand that, acknowledge that. It's like, all right, look, I can't meet you in person because I don't live anywhere near you. I'm not going to fly out there just to do this deal for, a $10,000 lot. But what we can do is maybe we can do a Zoom call. Maybe we can do something else like that. I don't, you try to figure it out, understanding, like, not to please or not to basically compromise yourself. It's more that it's like, look, I get it. You're doing something that's scary and I can tell that this is not what you're used to, but this is what we can do. So I make sure you feel a little better about the whole situation. And a lot of times that works and it works well. What else? Sometimes people are really serious about the land, but they don't have that conviction to, like, I don't know if I can really do this. I don't know if I can pull the trigger. I don't know, because they want the land for something. They don't know if they can actually do what they want with the land. Not because of like regulations or restrictions, but like, do they have the willpower to actually follow through on their own like life plans? Because we've all been there. We finally got what we wanted and we're like, holy shit, now what? So understanding that, using that empathy, understand, hey man, sometimes what they want are big dreams and it's hard to get that push. And sometimes you got to give them that push in a way you paint the picture, right? If they say they want to build their dream house on it, like, well, I can imagine you, in your dream house, as you step out on your front porch and you take, in the morning, you take a nice big inhale of that fresh mountain air and you can get started with your day and, whatever else they say, right? You're painting that picture like, look, man, you're already halfway there just talking to me. Once you own this property for yourself, it's going to be much easier for you to do the next step and then the next step and the next step, or whatever else you need to say to help them make the best decision for themselves, to keep moving forward in that process of the dream. That's the thing. That's the way we help them. A little bit of coaching, so to speak. The same way I coach the people in my group, helping them to get out of their own way so they can accomplish the things that they're set out to accomplish. Well, you kind of have to do the same thing from time to time with certain prospects. It doesn't happen often, but it happens enough where I feel I should mention it. Now, they also want to make sure they don't want to get ripped off. You got to understand that, man. We're doing something on the internet, No one wants to get ripped off, whether they're buying or selling. So you gotta put the safeguards in place. I mean, look, like you can't get ripped off if you do this, this, and this. For example, if you pay with a credit card and we sign this agreement, number one, you have two courses of action. One, you can take me to court and that will ruin me. So I definitely don't want that. And number two, you have your credit card. Your credit card company will fight on your behalf to help you get your money back if I end up being the devil incarnate. And a lot of times that helps people feel better about things and it makes things happen. So in general, you notice that a lot of the things that I'm talking about helps the other person do business with me. If I don't have that attitude, people won't sell to me and nobody would buy from me. I would make $0. I will get nothing done with the county and I'll just be frustrated and angry and talking shit on Facebook all damn day. This is why this is the most important skill you have. Because again, you're dealing with people. No matter how much you want to automate, no matter how many VAs you want, no matter none of that, you got to understand how to have empathy and how to apply it in this situation. Even if you never talk to a prospect or again, you still need that empathy with the people you're working with, the VAs you hire or the employees you hire. Because if they don't want to run through a brick wall with you, or for you, I should say, they're not going to actually stick around. You're going to be training people all the time. And the people who do come, they're going to have a terrible attitude and terrible work ethic. This is why it's important to have that empathy. So understand that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, because I think this is why a lot of you guys are suffering. You guys may have the empathy in your heart, but you don't express it to the other person. You're so worried about your own self, your own fears, your own insecurities, that you forget that like you want to do business with other people. So you're going to need them to do business with you. And the only way that's going to happen, they feel like they know, like, and or trust you. At least enough to actually get the deal done. All right. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you're looking looking to get help with land investing, to show empathy, to do these things properly, let me know. I'm here. Send me a DM. We can figure out a time to talk. I can let you know how that works. But other than that, man, I hope you guys get it. I hope you guys keep doing business well. And again, happy 420. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.